Life sometimes throws us a curveball when we're at our most vulnerable. When we stumble, when we lose our footing, when the strength we always relied on just isn't enough anymore. And it's in these moments of fragility that destiny decides to rewrite our story. Because some encounters need no formal introductions, no rehearsed speeches, some glances save you, some hands offer support, and some hearts recognize each other, even without ever having met. This is the story of a woman carrying the weight of the world, and a man who learned that all the riches on earth mean nothing without someone to share them with. When Marina collapsed on the cold floor of that corporate building, she had no idea she was about to fall into the arms of the one who would change everything. Because sometimes you have to fall apart to be put back together. And some falls lead us exactly where we were always meant to be. Subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories. Marina felt the world spin before she felt the ground. The hallway on the 23rd floor blurred into a haze of fluorescent lights and distant voices. Her knees buckled. The briefcases she carried scattered across the marble. And then, the void. But she didn't hit the floor. Two strong arms caught her at the last second, holding her body with a gentleness that contrasted with their evident strength. Marina smelled a masculine scent before she opened her eyes, woody, sophisticated, unlike anything she knew. When she finally managed to focus, she saw a face that looked sculpted, dark grey eyes that watched her with genuine concern, strong features, black hair slightly disheveled, a man who clearly didn't belong to her world. "Hey, easy. I've got you. You're safe." His voice was deep, resonant, like a sonic embrace. Marina tried to pull away, embarrassed, but her legs still wouldn't cooperate. He held her more firmly, without invading, just supporting. I need to go. I have a meeting," she whispered, still dizzy. "You need a doctor." He wasn't aggressive, but there was a determination in his words that left no room for argument. People started to gather. Marina heard whispers, felt the stares. She wanted to disappear. She had always been strong, always managed everything on her own. And now here she was, collapsing in the arms of a stranger, exposed, fragile. "Please," she pleaded, and didn't even know what she was asking for. He understood. Without a word, he lifted her into his arms as if she weighed nothing and walked towards the elevators. Ignoring the curious glances, Marina should have protested, should have demanded he put her down, but something in his gesture made her simply surrender. For the first time in years, she allowed someone to take care of her. Inside the elevator, he carefully supported her against the wall, but didn't let go. He stood there, close enough to catch her if needed, far enough not to intrude. "What's your name?" he asked, and there was a genuine curiosity in his tone. "Marina. Marina." He repeated it as if tasting a new word. "I'm Raphael." She looked at him properly then. Impeccable suit, perfect haircut, a watch that probably cost more than her car. But there was something in his eyes that clashed with all that material perfection. A deep loneliness, a weariness she recognized. "Do you work here?" Marina asked, already knowing the answer. A subtle smile touched his lips. Something like that. The elevator stopped on the ground floor. Raphael guided her to a more secluded area, away from prying eyes, and asked someone to bring water and something sweet. He knelt before her, this clearly powerful man, and watched her with an attention that made her blush. "When was the last time you ate?" he asked. Marina thought. "Breakfast. No time. Dinner last night. A hurried cereal bar. I don't remember." He shook his head, and something in his gaze shifted. A hardness, perhaps anger, but not directed at her. "You're going to eat now, and then you're going home to rest." "I can't. I have deliveries, reports, Marina." The way he said her name silenced her. It wasn't authoritarian, it was intimate. "What you need to do now is take care of yourself. Unexpected tears burned her eyes. When was the last time someone had cared if she was okay? When was the last time she had allowed someone to care? Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from and subscribe for heartwarming stories every day. Raphael saw the tears and something inside him cracked. He didn't know this woman. He didn't know her story, her fears, her dreams, but the moment he held her, something shifted, as if he had finally found something he was looking for without realizing it. "I'm sorry," Marina said, wiping her tears quickly. "I don't usually do this." "Cry? Be human?" He smiled faintly. "Maybe you should do it more often." She laughed, a fragile but genuine sound. And Raphael decided right then that he wanted to hear that sound every day for the rest of his life. But there was so much between them, so much he didn't know, so much she couldn't imagine. And as Raphael watched her regain her strength, sipping water in small gulps, he didn't realize he had just met the one person capable of breaking down all his defenses. The one who would finally make his world of luxury and loneliness make sense. Marina lived in a small apartment on the east side, where every dollar counted and every bill had a due date. Arriving home that night, after Raphael insisted on calling a private car to take her, she finally allowed herself to collapse on the worn-out sofa, an ice pack on her forehead, eyes closed, her breathing finally regulating. The old television was on the news channel, more for company than interest, until she heard a name she recognized. Rafael Almeida, CEO of Almeida Group, was seen today. Marina's eyes snapped open, and she saw his face on the screen. The same man who had caught her, who had knelt before her, who had looked at her as if she mattered. Only now he was in a completely different context. A charity event, an even more impeccable suit, surrounded by important people. A billionaire, one of the richest men in the country. She turned off the TV and laughed at herself. Of course he was out of her league. Of course this was nothing more than a temporary gesture of kindness. Men like Rafael Almeida didn't fall for women like her. Women who fainted from hunger at work because they didn't have time to eat. Women who shared rent with 2 roommates to make ends meet. Women whose greatest luxury was an ice cream at the end of the month. Marina looked around her small room. The cracked walls she had painted herself, the curtains that had belonged to her mother, the framed photo of the family she hadn't seen in months because she couldn't afford the bus fare to the countryside. She worked as an administrative assistant for one of the outsourced companies serving the Almeida Group. She was invisible, just another face in the crowd of hundreds, but for a moment in his arms, she had felt seen. Raphael, meanwhile, was in the triplex apartment that occupied the top 3 floors of one of the city's most expensive buildings. Glass, steel, panoramic views, all designed by award-winning architects, all empty. He paced, unable to get Marina out of his head, the way she trembled in his arms, the vulnerability in her brown eyes when she finally looked at him, the strength that shone through even in her fragility. He had met beautiful, sophisticated, opportunistic women, women who faked a stumble to catch his eye, women who laughed at jokes he didn't make, women who loved his bank account, never him. But Marina tried to pull away, tried to leave even when she could barely stand. She didn't ask who he was, didn't ask for anything. She just whispered a thank you and allowed, for a few brief minutes, to be cared for. Raphael picked up his phone. He knew it was wrong, knew he was crossing a line. But he called HR anyway, asked for information, found out which company she worked for, which department. He learned that Marina da Silva was 28, an exemplary employee, never absent, never complained. He learned she lived far away and took 3 buses a day. He should have stopped there, should have let it go, but he couldn't, because for years he hadn't felt anything. His life was meetings, business deals, empty dinners, even emptier beds. He had everything and nothing, and then he held a woman in his arms and felt, for the first time in a long time, alive. The next morning, Marina woke up to a message from her supervisor. She had been summoned for a meeting in the Human Resources Department. Her heart pounded. Was it about the fainting spell? Would they fire her for showing weakness? She put on her best work clothes, tied back her unruly hair, and took a deep breath. She needed that job. She needed that salary. She couldn't lose it. When she got to HR, she was met with smiles she had never seen before. They informed her that due to her excellent performance, she had been transferred, promoted. She would be working directly in the Almeida Group's central office. New salary, new benefits, meal vouchers, health insurance. Marina was speechless. It didn't make sense. She was good at her job, but not exceptional, not enough to deserve such a sudden promotion. "Is there a mistake?" she asked. "No mistake, Marina. You start Monday." She left dazed, happy, confused, suspicious, and a small part of her, unwilling to admit it, wondered if Raphael had anything to do with it. But why would he do that? And as she walked back home, saving her bus fare, Marina didn't know her life had just changed forever, that the man with the grey eyes couldn't stop thinking about her, and that sometimes destiny doesn't ask permission, it just acts. Monday came too quickly and too slowly. Marina spent the weekend oscillating between anxiety and excitement, packing and repacking the clothes she would take, rehearsing presentations she might never need to give. When she finally walked through the glass doors of the Almeida Group's central office, she felt like she was entering another universe. Everything there exuded understated luxury, from the Italian marble floors to the contemporary art on the walls. People walked with a confidence she had never seen. They spoke English on the phone, carried genuine leather briefcases, wore perfumes that probably cost more than her rent. And Marina was there, in her department store outfit and her mended handbag, trying not to look as lost as she felt. "Marina da Silva?" An elegant woman, her hair pulled back in an impeccable bun, approached her. "I'm Beatriz, operations manager. Welcome." The reception was cordial, professional. Beatriz guided her through the floors, explained her duties, introduced colleagues whose names Marina knew she'd forget in 5 minutes. Everything was very efficient, very fast, until Beatriz stopped in front of a frosted glass office. "You'll be reporting directly to the executive department," she explained. "You'll eventually have contact with upper management, including the CEO. Marina's heart skipped a beat. Mr. Almeida is usually very hands-on. He knows all the departments, all the projects. He values excellence. Marina just nodded, her throat dry. She spent the first few days immersed in work, learning new systems, complex processes, dynamics she had never experienced. It was challenging, intense, but she loved it. For the first time in years, she felt her potential was being utilized, that she mattered, but she avoided certain floors, certain elevators, certain hallways, because she didn't want to run into Raphael. She wouldn't know what to say, how to act, whether to thank him for the promotion she was sure he had arranged or pretend nothing had happened. Raphael, however, knew exactly where she was. He had access to all the reports, all the movements. He knew Marina arrived 15 minutes early every day, that she ate lunch at her desk working, that she never complained even when given extra tasks. And he fought the urge to go down to her floor just to see her again. His executive assistant, Clarice, a woman in her early 50s who had worked with him for a decade, noticed the change. "You're distracted," she commented one afternoon as they reviewed contracts. "I'm focused," Raphael replied without looking up. "You've been staring out the window for 10 minutes. He smiled involuntarily. Clarice knew his moods better than anyone. "There's someone," she stated, not asked. Raphael finally met her gaze. "It's complicated. It always is. She doesn't know who I am, or rather she knows now. But when we met, she wanted nothing from me. Didn't ask, didn't expect, it just happened." Clarice smiled. "And that scares you? It destabilizes me." That same week, Marina met Julia, one of the designers in the creative department. They shared an elevator a few times before Julia struck up a conversation. They discovered they lived relatively close, took the same subway line. They became companions. "Be careful around here," Julia warned as they had coffee in the shared break room. "There are a lot of sharks swimming in these waters." Sharks, people who step over anyone to get ahead. And then there are those born with silver spoons who think everyone else is disposable. Marina thought of Raphael. He didn't seem like that. But what did she really know? She had spent 20 minutes with him. 20 minutes where she was vulnerable, in need. Maybe he was just being polite. "Is the CEO like that?" Marina asked, trying to sound casual. Julia made a face. "Rafael Almeida is complicated. They say he's fair but distant. Brilliant in business but zero personal life. He was engaged once, years ago. She dumped him for an older, even richer guy. Since then, he's been ice." Marina felt something strange in her chest. Anger, pity, she didn't know. "But he's ridiculously good-looking," Julia laughed. "If you saw him in person, you'd get it." "I have," Marina blurted out. "Really? Where?" "It was quick. In the hallways." A lie. But Julia was already talking about something else, about another colleague, and Marina only half heard, because she was thinking about grey eyes that held her when she was falling, and how dangerous it was to cling to temporary kindness. That night, as Marina headed home on the crowded subway, Raphael was at a charity dinner he didn't want to attend, surrounded by people he didn't want to meet, smiling for photos he didn't want to take, and thinking about a woman with tired eyes who had made his chest ache in a way he couldn't explain. Two worlds, an impossible connection, and fate preparing its next move. It was on a rainy Friday that everything changed again. Marina was staying late, reviewing a complex report that needed to be delivered on Monday. The office was almost empty, just a few workaholics and the cleaning crew. She was so focused, she didn't hear the approaching footsteps. Working late again? She froze. That voice. Marina looked up slowly, and there he was, Raphael, leaning against the doorframe of her cubicle, suit jacket off, sleeves rolled up to his elbows. He looked tired, but still impactful. "Mr. Almeida," she stood up too quickly, almost knocking over her coffee. "Raphael," he corrected, stepping into her space as if he had every right. "How are you, really?" "Good. Great, actually. Thank you for the opportunity." He shook his head. "You earned that yourself. I just smoothed out the paperwork." Silence. The rain drummed against the windows. They were alone on that floor, and Marina felt every inch of distance between them like an electric current. "Have you eaten?" Raphael asked. She looked away. Of course not. She never had time, never prioritized. "Marina." There was a gentle reprimand in his voice. "I'm used to it," she defended herself. "I don't need much. But you deserve more." His intensity caught her off guard. "You deserve to take care of yourself. You deserve to be taken care of." The air grew thick. Marina felt her cheeks burn. Raphael was very close now, just the desk between them, and she could see every detail of those grey eyes that had haunted her since they met. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. "What?" "Caring about me. You don't even know me." Raphael smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Sometimes we know someone in an instant, in a look, and suddenly that person matters. It doesn't make sense. It just is." Marina's heart was pounding so hard, she was sure he could hear it. She should pull back. She should remember they were from different worlds. But when Raphael rounded the desk and stood in front of her, when she had to tilt her head back to keep looking into his eyes, all sensible reasons evaporated. "Come have dinner with me," he asked. "Raphael, not as your boss, as someone who wants to get to know you better. No pressure, no expectations, just us." It was crazy, it was risky. It could complicate everything. But when was the last time Marina had done something just because she wanted to? When was the last time she'd allowed something good to happen without questioning it? "Okay," she heard her own voice agree. The smile that lit up his face was worth any future consequence. Raphael took her to a small Japanese restaurant hidden down an alley, far from the trendy spots where he'd be recognized. An intimate place with low lighting and soft music. They sat across from each other, and for the first time, Marina saw Raphael outside of a business context. He was human, real. He talked about the pressure of taking over his father's company at 25, about the expectations, the sacrifices, the sleepless nights. He spoke of the loneliness of always being surrounded, but never truly accompanied. And Marina opened up too. About her family back home she hadn't seen in too long, about her sick father and her mother working triple shifts to support everyone, about how coming to the city was necessary but painful, how every dollar she earned was split between surviving and helping those who stayed. "You're incredible," Raphael said at one point, and there was genuine admiration in his voice. "I'm just necessary," Marina replied. "No, you're strong. You're rare. In a world where everyone complains about everything, you just do, without fanfare, without expecting recognition." She felt her eyes sting. "Sometimes it's exhausting." "I know." Raphael reached his hand across the table, hesitantly. Marina looked at that hand, large, steady, with calluses from the gym, but also from real work, and she placed hers over it. The touch was electric, simple, but devastating. "I don't know what this is," Marina confessed, "but it scares me. It scares me too." His fingers closed around hers. "Because I can't promise you ease. My life is complicated, exposed, and you deserve simplicity, you deserve peace. What if I want complication? What if I want you?" The words tumbled out before she could censor them. Raphael froze, his eyes wide as if he couldn't believe what he'd heard. "Marina, sorry, I shouldn't have." He stood up, rounded the table in a fluid motion, and pulled her to her feet. There, in the middle of the empty restaurant, he cupped her face in both hands and brought his forehead to hers. "If you knew how many times I've thought about you since that day," he whispered. "If you knew how hard it is to stay away, then don't." It was all Raphael needed to hear. He kissed her, slowly, reverently, like someone touching something precious and fragile. Marina melted against him, her arms around his neck, feeling safe and unsettled at the same time. When they broke apart, both were breathing heavily. "This changes everything," Raphael warned. "I know. It's not going to be easy. I know. But I want to try. I want to know every part of you. I want to make you happy." Marina smiled, and for the first time in a long time, it was a full smile. "Then take me home?" Raphael laughed, that rare, beautiful sound. "Yes, I'll take you home." And as they left the restaurant hand in hand, the rain had stopped, and the night sky showed a few shy stars. Two hearts beginning to allow themselves, two worlds trying to find each other, and love, timidly, making space. The first few weeks were magical. Raphael and Marina saw each other whenever possible, in discreet places, far from the spotlight that followed his life. Hidden dinners, Walks in empty parks, conversations that lasted deep into the night. He discovered she loved old Brazilian songs, that she was afraid of thunderstorms, that she dreamed of one day being able to pay for her father's surgery. She discovered he played the piano when he was nervous, that he had a scar on his shoulder from a childhood surgery, that he donated anonymously to dozens of institutions. They fell in love, quietly, intensely, inevitably. But the world didn't forgive impossible romances. The first crack came on a Thursday afternoon. Marina was in the break room when she overheard two colleagues talking, not realizing she was there. "Did you see that the new girl in finance is dating Rafael Almeida?" "No way. That simple girl, he must be having fun." "Yeah, until the novelty wears off. Rich men don't tie themselves down to employees." Marina felt the ground disappear beneath her. She left before they saw her, locked herself in the bathroom, and took a deep breath. She couldn't cry, not at work. But the words echoed, planting seeds of doubt she didn't want to water. What if it was true? What if she was just a phase for him? That night, Rafael noticed the distance. Marina was too quiet, smiling little, avoiding his gaze. "What happened?" he asked as they walked through the empty parking lot. "Nothing." "Marina, I know you. What is it? Do you really know me?" The question came out sharper than she intended. "Or am I just different, a distraction from your real life?" Raphael stopped walking. "How can you think that?" "Because that's what everyone thinks." She turned to him, eyes shining. "Do you think I don't hear the comments, that I don't see how people look at me when they find out? I'm the office joke, Raphael. The poor girl who's climbing the ladder on her boss's back. You know that's not true. I know, because from the outside it looks exactly like that. You promoted me, gave me everything, and now we're together. How do I convince people it wasn't calculated?" "You don't have to convince anyone of anything." His voice rose, frustration leaking out. "Their opinion doesn't matter." "Ah, but it does, because while you go back to your penthouse, I go back to my cramped apartment, listening to the neighbors gossip. While you have dinner with executives, I share lunchboxes with colleagues who judge me. Our worlds don't mix, Raphael, and maybe it's time to accept that." A heavy silence fell between them. Raphael looked devastated. "Are you breaking up with me?" he asked, his voice low. Marina felt her heart break. "I'm trying to protect us, before this becomes something bigger and the fall hurts even more." "It's already something bigger," Raphael said, and there was desperation in his voice. "At least for me. I fell in love with you, Marina, completely, and I don't care what they say, what they think, I only care about you." Tears rolled freely now, but I care. Because every mean comment, every pitying glance makes me doubt. It makes me feel like I'm not enough, like I never will be. "You're everything," Raphael said, holding her face, desperate. "You're everything I was looking for without knowing I was looking." "Then why does it feel so wrong?" she sobbed. He had no answer. He just pulled her into a hug, holding her as if he could keep everything together with sheer will. Marina clung to him, knowing she was slipping, that she was losing the battle against fear. In the following days, they tried. They tried to ignore the stares, the whispers, the pressure. But in every meeting Marina attended, she felt the weight of judgment. Every project she received, she wondered if it was due to merit or because she was with Raphael. The last straw came 2 weeks later. Raphael's ex-fiancée, Isabella, appeared. Beautiful, sophisticated, clearly belonging to his world. She scheduled a meeting at the office, asked to speak with him, and Marina saw through the glass when she touched Raphael's arm, when she smiled that intimate smile. Julia appeared beside Marina. "That's Isabella Vittorino. Old family, heiress to God knows how many millions. They say she realized she made a mistake and wants him back." Marina felt nauseous. They make sense together, don't they? Julia commented without malice, just stating a fact. Same class, same circles, same life. And that was when Marina made the hardest decision of her life. That night, when Raphael tried to call, she didn't answer. When he texted, she replied with monosyllables, and when he finally found her leaving work, desperate, she was decided. "I can't take it anymore," Marina said before he could say anything. "I can't stand feeling inferior every day. I can't stand questioning if I'm enough, and I can't stand seeing you judged for being with me. Marina, please. Isabella's back. And I saw how good you look together, how it makes sense. I don't want her. I never did. I want you. But maybe you need her, what she represents." Marina pulled back when he tried to touch her. "I love you, Raphael. I love you so much it hurts. But love isn't enough when everything around us is falling apart. Don't do this. Don't give up on us. I'm freeing you." The words were ashes in her mouth. "So you can live the life you're supposed to live with someone who belongs." And before he could argue, before he could beg, Marina got into a taxi and didn't look back. Because if she looked, she would go back. And that would destroy them both. Raphael stood frozen in the middle of the street, watching the woman he loved disappear. And for the first time since he became an adult, he cried. A month, 30 days of absolute silence. Marina requested a transfer to another department on another floor, avoiding any possibility of meeting. Raphael threw himself into work, shut himself off even further, becoming a darker version of himself. Clarice watched him worriedly, but said nothing. Julia tried to cheer Marina up, but she just smiled unconvincingly and changed the subject. Two miserable people, each in their own corner, until everything fell apart completely. Marina received a call from her mother. A choked voice, stifled sobs. Her father had gotten worse. He needed the surgery urgently, couldn't wait any longer. 30,000 reais. An impossible amount for a family that could barely pay the monthly bills. Marina checked her bank account. 5,000 saved through sacrifice after sacrifice. She applied for a loan. It was denied. She tried an advance on her salary. Impossible. She fell into despair. And that was when Julia, without Marina knowing, told Raphael. He was in a meeting when Clarice entered, asked permission, and whispered in his ear. Raphael turned white. He apologized and left the room, leaving confused directors behind. "How much?" he asked as soon as they were alone. 30,000. The surgery is in 3 days, or there are no guarantees. Raphael didn't think twice. He transferred the amount, double, and sent it directly to Marina's mother's account, anonymously. But Marina found out. Of course, she found out. She stormed into his office the next day, tears of anger and gratitude mixed. "Why did you do this?" she yelled as soon as the door closed. Raphael stood up from his chair, surprised by the intrusion. "You know why." "I don't want your charity. I don't want your pity." "It's not charity. It's love." He said it simply, directly, devastatingly. Marina stumbled over her own emotions. You can't just... What? Take care of you? Help when you need it? Marina, do you think I can just switch off what I feel? You broke up with me, but you didn't break up what's here. He hit his own chest. This doesn't end just because you want it to. You don't understand. She was crying now, all her strength draining away. Every time you help me, I feel smaller. Every time you solve my problems with money, I stop being your equal. You were never my equal. The sentence landed like a bomb. Marina paled, but Raphael continued, You're better than me. Stronger, more real, more principled. You face the world every day without complaint. I just manage what I inherited. Raphael, and I didn't send money because you're my girlfriend. I sent it because your father needs to live, because you deserve one less worry, because if I have resources and don't use them to help the person I love, then what's the point of having all this? The silence that followed was charged, painful. I'm so scared, Marina confessed, her voice breaking. Scared of getting used to you and losing you, scared of not being enough, scared of waking up one day and you realizing you deserve more. Raphael walked towards her slowly, giving her time to pull away, but she stayed put. He cupped her face with a gentleness that contrasted with the intensity of the moment. You are everything I want, and I know I'm complicated, that my life comes with baggage, with exposure, with pressure, but none of that matters if you're not with me. Nothing makes sense without you. And Isabella? Marina had to ask. Isabella never loved me. She loved the idea of me, the status, the position, and I was foolish enough to confuse convenience with love. But with you it's real. It's scary and messy and completely real. Marina felt her last defenses crumble. I love you too. I never stopped, but I don't know how to make this work. We'll figure it out, together. Raphael rested his forehead against hers. Let me love you. Let me take care of you. Not because you're incapable, but because you don't have to face everything alone. And it was there, in the middle of his office, with the city buzzing outside, indifferent to their moment, that Marina allowed herself to yield, allowed herself to be loved, allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, love could be bigger than all their differences. She kissed him, deeply, surrendered, without fear. And Raphael held her like someone who had finally found their safe harbor. I need all of you, he whispered between kisses. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, everything. You have me, Marina promised. You always have. Outside, Clarice diverted anyone who tried to interrupt, because some moments couldn't be broken. Some loves needed space to finally breathe. The changes didn't happen overnight. Marina and Raphael decided to go public with their relationship, to face the stares and judgments together. And surprisingly, the reaction was softer than they'd imagined. Some raised eyebrows, some commented, but most simply accepted it. Because when two people radiate genuine happiness, it's hard to argue. Raphael started showing up more at Marina's department, unceremoniously, proving she was his and he was hers. They ate lunch together in the cafeteria, no longer hiding. They left work hand in hand. And little by little, the entire company got used to it. Marina met Raphael's parents on a Sunday afternoon. She was nervous, expecting coldness, disapproval, but she found warmth. His mother, Donna Vera, an elegant but welcoming woman, hugged her as if she'd known her for years. Finally, he brought someone real, she whispered in Marina's ear. Someone who makes his eyes shine. His father, Mr. Almeida, was more reserved but equally kind. He talked with Marina about literature, about music, about life, and at the end of the afternoon, as they said goodbye, he pulled Raphael aside. This one, you don't let go, was all he said. I don't intend to, Raphael replied, looking at Marina, who was chatting animatedly with his mother. And he kept his promise. 2 months later, Raphael organized a dinner. He told Marina it was just for the two of them, something intimate. He took her to his penthouse, which she had never visited. Marina was speechless at the view, at the grand piano, at the immense library. You live in a museum, she joked. I lived in a gilded cage, he corrected, until you showed up. They dined on the terrace, under the stars, with the illuminated city serving as their backdrop. They talked about everything and nothing, laughed, shared secrets. And when dessert arrived, Raphael stood up and extended his hand. Dance with me? There was no music, just the distant sound of traffic and the gentle breeze. But Marina placed her hand in his and let him guide her in a slow sway, close together. I had a speech planned, Raphael began. Something elaborate, poetic. But when I look at you, the words disappear. Marina felt her heart race. You saved me, Marina, from an empty life, from aimless days, from dreamless nights, and I can't imagine a single day from here on out without you in it. He pulled away slightly, holding one of her hands while his other searched his pocket. And when he knelt down, Marina brought her free hand to her mouth, tears already falling. "I don't have a ring yet, because I want you to choose. I want it to be perfect your way, but I couldn't wait any longer to ask." Raphael took a deep breath, eyes shining. "Marina da Silva, will you marry me? Build a life with me? Let me love you every day for the rest of my life." Marina could barely see through her tears. She nodded repeatedly before she could form words. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." Raphael stood up in a swift motion, swept her into his arms and spun her around, laughing, crying, completely lost in happiness. When he set her back down, he kissed her with an intensity that conveyed everything words never could. "I love you so much," he whispered against her lips. "I love you more," she countered. "Impossible." And they spent the rest of the night planning their future, a future where differences were just details, where love was the foundation, where two broken hearts found healing in each other. Marina called her mom the next morning, barely able to contain her excitement. Her mother cried tears of joy and made Marina promise to bring Raphael to meet the entire family. Her father, already recovered from surgery, got on the phone just to say he trusted her, that he knew she'd chosen well. Raphael, for his part, told Clarice before anyone else. She smiled that motherly way and said something that would stay with him forever. "You finally learned that true luxury isn't what you have, it's who you love." He couldn't agree more. In the months that followed, they discovered each other in new ways. Marina met the Raphael who played piano at midnight when he couldn't sleep. The Raphael who anonymously donated to social causes. The Raphael who was afraid of thunderstorms but never admitted it. The Raphael who was vulnerable and real behind the whole businessman armor. Raphael met the Marina who sang old songs in the shower. The Marina who kept every letter from her family. The Marina who cried at sappy movies but laughed at bad comedies. The Marina who was strength and fragility in perfect doses. And they fell in love again. Every day, in different ways. Because true love isn't a peak you reach. It's a mountain you choose to climb every day, together. The wedding was small, intimate, exactly as they'd wanted. At Raphael's family ranch, under a bright spring sky, only close family and true friends, Mrs. Vera cried through the entire ceremony. Marina's father, now fully recovered, walked his daughter down the aisle with a pride that showed in every step. And when the officiant asked if they accepted each other, both responded with unshakable conviction. "I do." The reception was joyful, filled with laughter and dancing. Raphael played piano for Marina, a song he composed for her during those lonely pre-dawn hours before they found each other again. She cried, he smiled, and everyone watching knew this was the kind of love that rewrites destinies. The honeymoon was simple, a beachfront inn, no over-the-top luxuries, just the two of them, and time. They walked barefoot on the sand, talked until dawn, made plans and remade others, and they discovered things about each other that went far beyond the physical. "Happy?" Raphael asked one night with Marina resting on his chest, listening to the ocean. "Complete," she answered. When they returned, Marina didn't quit her job. She made sure to continue, to grow on her own merit. Raphael supported her, proud of the woman he had by his side. And slowly she climbed, not because she was the CEO's wife, but because she was exceptionally good at what she did. 2 years later, Marina was leading her own department. She had genuine respect from her colleagues. And Raphael learned to delegate, to trust, to not carry everything alone, because he had a reason to come home. He had someone who made every day worthwhile. They bought a house, not a mansion, but a home, with a garden for Marina to plant her flowers, with an office for Raphael to work when necessary, with extra bedrooms for the future they planned. And on a rainy Saturday morning, Marina woke up feeling nauseous. She took the test, saw the 2 lines, and when she told Raphael, she saw the strong, steady man crumble into tears of pure joy. "We're going to be parents," she whispered, still processing. "We're going to be a family," he corrected, kissing her still flat stomach. The months of pregnancy were intense. Raphael became obsessive, careful to extremes that made Marina laugh. But she loved it, loved how he talked to her belly, how he read bedtime stories, how he'd already picked 1,000 names and changed his mind every day. When their daughter was born, tiny, perfect, with her father's eyes and her mother's smile, they both knew every struggle had been worth it. "Laura," Marina said, holding the baby with reverence. "Laura," Raphael repeated, touching her delicate face. "Our girl." And there, in that hospital room, with the dim lights and the new baby smell in the air, 2 hearts that found each other in their fall completed their cycle. Because Marina had learned that falling apart wasn't weakness. It was allowing yourself to be held. And Raphael learned that strength wasn't controlling everything. It was allowing yourself to be vulnerable with the people who matter. Years passed. Laura grew up. More children arrived. The house filled with laughter, with mess, with life. Raphael taught the kids to play piano. Marina taught the importance of empathy, of fighting, of dignity. And on quiet nights, when the children were asleep and they were just the 2 of them on the couch, Marina would sometimes reminisce. "Remember the day I fainted?" she asked. Raphael smiled, pulling her closer. "Best day of my life. Were you waiting for a damsel to faint into your arms? I was waiting for you. I just didn't know it yet." And they kissed with the intimacy of those who know each other deeply, with the affection of those who choose every day, with the love of those who understand that true luxury doesn't reside in things. It resides in shared glances, in intertwined hands, in promises kept. And that's how 2 wounded hearts discovered that love, when it's true, always finds a way. And you, what did you think of this story? What was the moment that touched your heart the most? Leave your comments below and take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel. That way you never miss our love stories.